So it's not like interconnection with other carriers or anything.
Well, yeah, no, interconnection is always there. It's part of our DNA, you know. We've been interconnecting with.
So I just thought if when you said third-party enablement, it was 360, not just.
Oh yeah, it's a whole range of organisations. Now, if you're asking me, do we want to do something like BT have done with Rivet? We've looked at it. We've got aspects of it. We have a developer site today. I'm not compelled by it, to be honest. I think there are just a couple of key things that third-party developers are looking for. The biggest thing we have to offer is our channel. So as long as we can enable our channel effectively to them, that's going to be much more valuable than fiddling around with network APIs.
Okay. So this is a channel. So you have a transformation, right? Mm-hmm. It's what 2 years, 2+ years. It's been going on, and now you said it's a new journey that's begun. So BT's 21CN kind of like that, right? It's 10 years going and finishing every other year, right? Mm-hmm. So it has that kind of been the same thing that Telstra has seen? It started to evolve because of all the different changes.
Look, I won't comment on BT's 21CN. The fact is that the industry is changing rapidly, and the technology that enables it is changing rapidly. So it would be nice to think we could do, put in a switch and it lasts 100 years. And so inevitably we've done the things we needed to do to effectively get a whole of customer view. That was step number one. It was absolutely critical. And we've had partners like Amdocs on that journey who've been key components of a very complex IT infrastructure you've got to put in place to make that work. But there are new challenges is really what I was trying to say, is there are new challenges coming down the line that are third-party enablement, much more complex services, much more seamless usage across multiple scenarios, devices, people. So we've got to evolve further to meet those challenges. It's not another transformation, it's an evolution into the next step. And it's a bit like, we've laid the foundations of the house. It's not as though we're digging those up and starting again.
Right, yeah.
And we've even got a few rooms in the house, but now we need an extra bathroom or whatever it might be. It's kind of that type of journey.
No. Thanks.
Sure.
Hi, Ari Banerjee from Heavy Reading. Sorry.
I know Heavy Reading, don't worry.
Now, you guys have embarked on a huge transformation project. Now, looking hindsight, right, see what are the critical challenges you guys have faced? And to be honest, when you look back at that, what do you think you thought you might have done differently?
Look, I think, let me make a comment on the IT industry per se rather than our own transformation. Because whatever I say about how we would have done it differently, would it be interpreted as criticism of what we wanted to do? And hindsight's an exact science, but when you're faced with the situation, it's a very different proposition. I think that the IT industry as a whole overpromises and underdelivers. And that's kind of almost like a law of nature in that industry. It's because there's inevitably scope creep. I used to have a colleague who used to say to me, a strategic partnership is when we screw the vendor before the deal and they screw us afterwards. So, the fact is that what happens is you agree on a scope of work and you change your mind almost immediately because things happen that you just don't expect. So, you've almost got to plan for extra complexity, just unanticipated complexity. And to quote Don Rumsfeld, the unknown unknowns are pretty hard to plan for. So that is a challenge. The other thing is that for most telcos, incumbent telcos, you have an existing customer base, which is your key asset, and you have a choice there. Do I create a new customer base or do I expand my existing customer base? So that's a significant challenge in itself, and I don't think there's a right way or wrong way of doing it, but you have to make that choice. And similarly, you have a key set of infrastructure assets, and you have to make a decision: do I, Are they going to be, my new assets going to be ships in the night with the old assets, or am I going to actually reuse a lot of the old assets? Now, there's no incumbent telco in the world that can simply afford to junk all their old assets and start fresh. You know, we have thousands of PDH elements in our network. It'd be great to say we should have got rid of them, and you know, it should all be SDH by now. But the fact is that we won't get rid of them, and it probably will be next year in Ethernet long before we go through SDH on those elements. And in that time, we'll have a whole lot of SDH elements which will be saying we should have got rid of them. But you just can't afford to do that. So the reality of what you face is the critical factor there. You've just got to work out which compromises are going to be made. So what we're trying to do with them is first of all enable them to do the deployment, and that's through the provision of infrastructure like nets and pipes and dark fibers and things like that. The other thing is we're clearly are going to be a significant customer of NBN because we'll be migrating all our traffic off our copper network onto their fiber network, and so we're working very closely with them in terms of helping them define their product sets. And if you look at a lot of the industry standards, or if you call them that, the industry sort of work that's gone on around, most of it has been done by my team at Telstra, by far the lion's share. And we've also, you know, they had a previous tender for an NBN where we were actually bidding for it, and were somewhat controversially eliminated from that bid. But we did a lot of work for that. We've shared a lot of that knowledge with them. So we've done a lot of work with NBN Co to try and make that work and to make them successful.
So my question is kind of going into, I know NBN is the infrastructure side of it, but there's also going to be the challenge where, you know, a lot of the governments don't think about, oh, we need to operate this once and afterwards. And then you all need to run on a network that you would hope is managed properly as well.
Yes.
So I don't know where's
well, our government's made a choice around they're going to operate the network. So.
Or if outsource it.
Sorry?
Or if they all outsource it.
No, they've got their own company called NBN.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so
maybe one last question, if we could. We talked a lot about the network. You mentioned, though, a lot about how communication and media is going to change and content in the home.
Right.
You know, how quickly do you see that coming, and how much is your network and your infrastructure versus you need something in the connected home to do different? Maybe you can make a few comments on that aspect of your talk.
Look, it's happening extremely quickly today. So we have a service we call the T-Box, which is a hybrid set-top box, which is an over-the-top IPTV service plus free-to-air broadcasting in the same box. And the way we see that evolving is into a DLNA controller within the home. So allowing the consumer to bring in multiple content sources, free-to-air broadcast, on-demand internet services, and also their own home user-generated media. And the other thing is the distribution to multiple boxes. So that infrastructure is going to be extremely important going forward. And what it's taught us with the T-Box has taught us is that the network performance is important. You know? So we have something like 93% DSL coverage, but obviously that depends on how far you are from the exchange, what bit rates you're getting, and Australia being the country it is, a lot of customers are a good distance from the exchange. You know, 5-kilometre loops are not uncommon, and we have sometimes 20-kilometre loops. So those are significant challenges. And then, you know, the previous generation, we still have a lot of web-centric broadband in our network, which is code for saying we've got D-slams with ATM coming out of the back instead of Ethernet, and those are challenged in terms of the amount of traffic they can carry. So the actual demand is out there. The consumers want on-demand media, and you're seeing this explode with Google TV, Apple TV, Roku, Boxy. They're just a heap of people. The TV manufacturers with their smart TV sets, and it's not going to be long where the consumer's going to have a stack of set-top boxes reaching to the roof to get the content. So we're trying to intermediate in that as well to make sure that they can get anything they want that's commercially available, but without having to buy a set-top box each time.